When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish,
the podcast that sometimes gets serious and thinks about the generations of gay men that came before us and never knew what it was to hear a Beyonce song on the radio.
Oh, yeah. But I bet they play her on repeat in the afterlife. Like the gay disco dance party.
There's just a Beyonce room.
I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
And we're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And today, the Beyonce room.
The Beyonce.
That's what we're talking about now.
And today's episode is the Beyonce room. Is it that Beyonce's there or that they're playing Beyonce or everyone is Beyonce? What's your fantasy Beyonce room?
Like a room made out of Beyonce's? That's
Beyonce's
like
the wallpaper. It's heaven. It's fine. Everyone. It's something that's cool and not gross in heaven.
Oh God. Yeah.
We're talking about
love.
It's almost Valentine's Day.
It is almost Valentine's Day.
So this is
just one more reminder of crushing loneliness.
This is a little bit for like those that are not in a relationship to help commiserate and remind us that we're in this together a little bit, even when we're alone.
Yeah. Yeah. But first,
I feel like there was something beautiful in what I said, and if I thought about it, and like it could have been anyway.
I mean, I'll hear it later. Like I'll listen to the show. I always listen to the show once just to like hear what you've edited out and what you kept. Mm-hmm. And I'll let you know if what you said was profound or not when I hear it again.
Thanks, if it makes it. But first,
I have a quick correction of sorts.
Okay. I
had said I went on a tirade about how hot Stephen Strait is from The Expanse, and that I was upset that nobody told me. The WoW Guildies told me. They told me months ago, a year ago, that I should be watching that show because that boy hot. And I acknowledge your presence in my life, and I promise to do better at listening to you in the future. You beautiful, beautiful weirdos.
All right, that's very nice of you to do that for them. Your correction center is sometimes like, I didn't do life perfectly, which like we don't need to correct our lives.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I'm like, or you're like, in one episode, I said that the date on this was 1983 and it was 1983 and a half. Like, corrections could be like, here's a giant thing that was wrong or that was mean. Anyway, I guess you do what you want. I support you.
Great.
Hey, WoW Guild. I never talk to you, nor do I plan to, but I still love you.
Yeah.
News?
Time for the news.
Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News.
Okay. First up, in a way, I like somebody very important to our community is now enjoying the Beyonce room in heaven. We're going to talk about him.
Boy, wait, sorry. Can I interrupt your important thing with something less important?
Yes.
I forgot what it was. Oh, The Expanse.
Yeah.
Didn't you talk to like an actor in The Expanse? Didn't they message us and say they listened?
Yeah.
Hi. We do. You're not okay.
Well, apparently they're a recurring character that's going to happen in season 5, so I don't really actually know who they are yet. But yes, they had there's a listener who was on The Expanse who reached out to us, and yeah.
And you're being vague because we don't know if we're allowed to say who this is, or
if like maybe we want to have a chat with them on the show.
Oh,
maybe I want to bang them, and there's just a world of possibilities, Kyle.
Sure, let's keep it vague. It's funny being able to vague post, but like on your own podcast. That's fun. Okay. Who died?
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. Entered the Beyonce room in heaven.
Yep. The newest occupant of the Beyonce room in heaven, Arnie Kantrowitz, who is a pioneering activist for the gay community, is dead at the age of 81. He is perhaps best known as being one of the co-founders of GLAAD.
Wow.
Yeah. The Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation was formed in 1985, and he was one of the people that was part of that beginning. But he also, before that, was an early champion of gay rights and, quote, an indefatigable campaigner for fairer treatment of gay people by the media.
Now, what does indefatigable mean specifically?
Indefatigable?
Yeah.
Like you never run out of energy. You never get fatigued.
Oh.
Yeah. He was the vice president of the Gay Activists Alliance, which was one of the first groups founded in the wake of the Stonewall riots in 1970.
What was that called? Sorry, I don't think I've heard of it.
Gay Activists Alliance.
Oh, okay.
GAA or the Gay.
Gay. No, okay, yes. There was the GAA and then there's... Okay, yep, I remember that.
He also was a professor in the English department at the City University of New York's College of Staten Island from 1965 to 2006. He created one of the first gay studies courses in the nation. He promoted the work of Walt Whitman and other gay writers. In 1977, he published a memoir, Under the Rainbow, Growing Up Gay, in which he talked about the difficulties that he and other gay people faced in mid-century America. He was open about the fact that he twice tried to commit suicide, and he's just was really, really important to us and our history, and has now passed. Unfortunately, he passed of complications of COVID-19. But yeah, he was 81, and now he gets to listen to Love on Top on repeat, I guess.
Do you think hell has a Bjork room of hell or something? Like what's...
Yeah. What would be...
Where
would be...
Christian fundamentalists go or something? I don't know.
Michael W. Smith on repeat. And there are a bunch of Christian rock folks that loved that reference just now. Okay.
I just smiled and pretended like I do during sex.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Sayonara, Arnie. Thanks for everything. I don't know.
Worst end to this guy. Let's move on to news number 2.
I haven't even had that much wine yet.
Sayonara, buddy.
Oh, God.
Okay.
News the second. So Jonathan Van Ness and Sean Penn have been fighting on Twitter.
Okay.
Which is pretty interesting. It all started in when Sean Penn did a interview in The Independent, and he said, quote, "I think that men have, in my view, become quite feminized. I have these very strong women in my life who do not take masculinity as a sign of oppression toward them. There are a lot of, I think, cowardly genes that lead to people surrendering their genes with a J and putting on a skirt." This weird toxically masculine idea that like men are becoming feminized and that masculinity is disappearing is just such bullshit, and you see it in a lot of places.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it from like liberal elite Sean Penn, who's not known for being a conservative fuckface by any means.
Yeah. But isn't he known as being kind of an asshole just in general, in his life?
And difficult to work with or whatever.
Yeah. I love that because that's usually what they say about women when they just have an opinion. So for Sean Penn to get but he's so difficult to work with. I kind of love that.
He said, quote, "I'm in the club that believes that men in American culture have become wildly feminized. I don't think that to be fair to women, that we should become them."
Wow. That attitude is to draw something very long reach that I completely believe in. I think this is why we have school shootings. I think the idea that men can't talk about our emotions and need to be a certain way contributes to violence in white cis men who don't have any other outlet and have either mental health issues or we know that men commit suicide more often. There is a disease of masculinity, and this is a perfect example of the shitty behavior that tells men that you have to be a certain way, and any female quality is bad. Any traditional stereotypical feminine quality is bad, and that includes I mean, he's talking about like the way you dress, but the implication there is probably talking about things or having feelings or emotions, or we're talking about love, like loving people. Like there's so many things that traditional masculinity doesn't allow men to do or be.
Yeah, I'm suddenly reminded, I think I've told this story before, I'm suddenly reminded of my grandparents who would just flip the fuck out if they saw somebody with their pants riding too low, could see their underwear, and like, I mean, and inevitably it was a brown person, right? But they're not upset about the race. It's not racist. They're upset at the pants, right? Like, it's just interesting that he would talk about like wearing skirts instead of jeans as being like the entry point for this, and sort of in denial that it's anything to do with misogyny or homophobia.
Yeah.
Just, it's so fucking stupid. Well, anyway, JVN got back to him on Twitter and said, quote, "First of all, I'm non-binary. Second, at Sean Penn, your remarks are ignorant, transphobic, and devoid of intelligence. My cowardly genes have more strength, resolve, and beauty than you could understand. Sean is suffering from toxic masculinity and needs to watch Getting Curious." Have you seen Getting Curious?
Watch it? I thought it was a podcast.
I don't know. I'm just reading the tweet.
I'm just here to read the tweet. The teleprompter said to read. No,
it's his own. It's his Netflix show.
Gotcha.
And this article switches between he, she, and they pronouns for JVN because those are their pronouns.
Yeah. I was gonna.
And so. Yeah, they recently launched their own Netflix show, Getting Curious, based on their podcast of the same name, where they examine topics from vaccine misinformation to the Panama Canal.
Okay, can I go on a side rant that I both support JVN and here we go?
Yeah.
A celebrity podcast where they interview people they think are interesting and learn about topics is like, that's so boring. You didn't have tell me you wanted to do a podcast and didn't have an idea without telling me you wanted to do a podcast and didn't have an idea. Yep. That's like, it's just, I think Adam Conway, who did, I forget what it's called. Adam's Truth. Adam Ruins Everything.
Okay.
That was such a well done TV show that I haven't heard the podcast turned into a podcast that like, let me learn about things and tell you why you're wrong about these. But like everything else is just like, you just didn't, someone said you needed a podcast.
Right. Yeah.
I just get so frustrated when celebrities or like, let me get like, we'll do an advice show. I'm unqualified with end affairs. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, let me give you advice. Like that format is funny and interesting the first time. And I'm so annoyed that so many celebrities like get into the podcast thing, don't respond to our requests for interview. And then like,
what I just heard you say is thank God we're not famous. Otherwise we wouldn't be as interesting.
To be nice to myself for once in my life.
Okay, great.
I think the fact that anyone listens to us and we like have no, like we are not people that are famous and no one knows who the fuck we are. Like we are not coming from like, you know, you'll always see like actors that are like, oh yeah, like, well, his dad was like fucking, I don't know, I can't think of any actors, but like, you know, like we came from nothing, and so you have to think you have to put more work into. You have to have more interesting ideas. You have to actually have a concept that resonates with people. And celebrities just get to be like, oh, a ton of people listen to me. Like, let me go do this thing. Cool. Yeah. Oh, I learned about this fact. Cool. That's a whole show. You know, it's I don't know.
Now I'm gonna go be famous over here.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Okay. I support you in what you're saying, JV. Good for you. Love it. Love the skirt.
Yep. And I think I've said this quote on the show before, but I'm going to say it again. When Van Ness came out in the Advocate's sister publication, Out magazine, she said, quote, "Some days I feel like a man, but then other days I feel like a woman. I think my energies are really all over the place. Any opportunity I have to break down stereotypes of the binary, I am down for it. I'm here for it. I think a lot of times gender is used to separate and divide. It's this social construct that I don't really feel like I fit into the way I used to."
Fuck, I completely changed. I'm like, we need people that are non-binary, that are trans, that are queer. Like we need those people like hosting shows and being like all over the place. So I take it back. Fine. Do any podcast you want. Like that should, like I want those voices to be more prevalent and out there. So I retract. I apologize. Dear, this is correction on what I just said here moments ago. I should, yeah.
Great.
Is this still the news? Sorry.
Yeah, news the last?
Yeah, sorry, I'm making this way too long.
In what is my favorite news story of the week, New Delhi in India has the Gaya Airport, Gaya, and their airport code is Gay. Gay. So you can fly from PDX to Gay, and that is Portland to.
I mean, you're leaving Gay to go to Gay,
right? New Delhi, India. Anyway, so Parliament in India had tried to get it changed because they think it is, quote, inappropriate.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah. Okay.
There was a report from the Parliament from the Committee on Public Undertakings that wants to change the airport code, and they said that it was, quote, inappropriate, unsuitable, offensive, and embarrassing. They suggested YAG as the alternative, which is just gay backwards. We still win.
That's just a gay laying on his back. Right? Yeah.
And it's interesting then because the International Air Transport Association, the IATA, which is the international body that gets to decide these things, they ended up saying, quote, Gaya Airport IATA code GAY has been in use since operationalization of Gaya Airstrip. Hence, without a justifiable reason primarily concerning air safety, IATA has expressed its inability to change the code of Gaya Airport. They said, nah, bitch.
No.
Fucking deal with it.
Okay. A very great response. If I could I wish they would have said, we can, but we won't.
Yeah.
Like, they said we can't. Like, they can, but like, we can, but we won't. Like, that would have been even better, but I love it.
Or just a memo on like really fancy looking letterhead that said, you're inappropriate.
Okay, yes, that would have been the right. No signature, not the seal and whatever. Yeah.
Yep. So their stance is that codes are permanent unless there is a serious safety concern, and this does not meet that bar. That's the news. Well,
if you want to become a safety concern, sign up for our Patreon. I would like to thank the following new Patreon members: Chen Lang Wang, who my autocorrect changed their last name to Wangler, so I also enjoyed that as a nickname maybe for you. Jared.
Oh, I was going to say just Jared, but then...
Isn't that a website?
Or
isn't that a trashy website?
The dude from Subway? That's not good.
Oh no. No, we don't want any of that. Paul McDonald?
Great. Okay.
I guess we have nothing to say. You have 3 capital letters in your name. Okay. That's a thing I pointed out.
E-I-E-I-O?
Yeah, all right.
Great. Next.
Russian judge gives you 6 out of 10. James Wood.
Yes.
And
Wait.
Oh,
Like the actor who's on The Simpsons all the time? No?
I don't know who that is. Maybe.
That's James L. Woods. Or is it Wood? I don't know.
And Cat A. Crane. I don't know if it's important, but Crane is all lowercase. Did you do that on purpose? Did you mistype?
Yeah.
Who knows? No one.
Are you Frasier's daughter?
I was going to get a quote from Frasier for this episode and I forgot to do it.
Oh.
Shit. Maybe I'll do that during the...
It's never too late. The magic of editing.
It's never too late.
Which we always do really well at.
So good. If what you just heard, the entire news segment was 5 minutes long, it's because I cut so much of it. Thank you to everyone who signed up for Patreon. We really appreciate your love and support, and it means a lot to it means a lot to us, so thank you. And if you want to sign up and support us, go to patreon.com/gayishpodcast.
Do it. Do you want to talk about love?
Yeah,
I noticed you broke out the rosé.
Yeah. I was like, this is going to be, this is going to be one of those episodes that I just, I both suggested this because I feel like we've done a lot of crazy things over the years, Mike.
Boy, howdy.
And But recently, I don't feel like we've had like kind of a personal episode, and both with Valentine's Day coming up, just in my personal life, and I'm gonna read into like just with you. I just feel like this is what.
In case anybody's forgotten that we're very sad.
Very sad. Yeah. For the new listeners, hello, we're Mike and Kyle. We're very sad. We almost titled this podcast "Very Gaming Sad" with Mike and Kyle. Yeah, we're both single, and half of us is dating.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This just felt relevant, especially around Valentine's Day. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have plenty of time to do the sad part.
We have plenty of rosé to go before we do the sad part.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
In the meantime, I'm going to talk about the history of love.
Okay, I'm curious what that means because, like, I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Well, okay. So I'll try to do the short version because there is a lot here. Obviously, there are love, like all of our emotions predate written history, and there are
presumably,
and there are animals, there are non-human animals that also have emotions, and a lot of them have social structures that at least mimic the concepts of love.
Wow, we're really I'm liking it. Like we are breaking love down to like what is love?
Baby, don't hurt me. Oh no, I'm hungover, so I can't sing. But that just maybe cut that in here.
You can sing later when you're feeling great, and I'll cut in a beautiful verse. It's gonna sound incredible.
So romantic love in the like rom-com sense really is a invention of Victorian culture mostly. There are previous examples, but for the most part, coupling and having kids and all of that is more about like property and the utility of combining families together, and of course,
like the Italy prime minister's daughter can marry the Spanish, whoever the fuck, and that will bring together our two countries because we've been at war, and like this something.
Yeah, and but it's like the idea that like it's two people who are like deeply into each other and support each other, and our romance is a relatively recent idea culturally, at least in Western society.
That can't but is it like before, like we put names to things, surely, but like before, people still like felt love for each other and probably did, like there were ways that they were allowed to do that or whatever, but like I don't know, romance is not an invention of Victorians. Like maybe our modern concept of maybe the stereotypes of what love looks like and the path you're supposed to take. Is that okay?
Yeah. I mean, there's to like grossly oversimplify it, there is the whole thing about like the caveman grabs her by the hair, clubs her over the head, and drags her back to his cave. There's some of that's
God, I want to be clubbed.
I know. Well, so let's go back to the ancient Greeks.
Okay.
Ancient Greeks are always a great place to start.
Yeah.
And they had a bunch of words that we translate as love. And it goes to show that the word love actually in English is very much a complicated, sort of ambiguous, encompasses multiple things word.
Yeah.
So here are some of the words that the Greeks had for love. Agape, which meant love, especially brotherly love or charity, and it was also the love of God for man and of man for God. It's
interesting that brotherly love and love for God are the same. Do they? Yeah, huh? Like those two things seem like distinct concepts, and I wonder how much of that is like placing men as godly. Like,
oh, that's interesting. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. It was used in ancient texts to denote feelings for your children and feelings for your spouse. It was also used to refer to a thing called the love feast, which I think we absolutely...
I want to be in the bottom in a love feast.
Which is some kind of... It's a Christian thing. The Christians invented it, but and it has... I don't know. The love feast is just it's way less interesting than it sounds.
Okay,
I think.
yeah. Okay, so not defining it as I'll probably like it better with no more information.
I guarantee your love feast is better. Second, eros or eros, love, mostly of sexual passion. It is the modern Greek word erotas, which means intimate love. It's where erotic comes from in our language, and I mean that's the like I want to bang, let's get down with the fucking kind of love.
I was just thinking like we have sexual love. I was trying to think of those two words. We have I made love, but that I feel like in our modern culture implies I am both romantically in love with this person and then we had sex.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if we I don't think we have I don't know. I think we put love and sex so differently. We don't have a sexual love. We call them fuck buddies, or like kind of, I think we reduce the sexual portion of it. We don't talk about it. We like kind of like why we have this show. Like there's so much that we diminish about the caring and affection and feelings around sex.
Yeah.
That love is romantic and sex is sex. And, you know, yeah, that's interesting that they have a word for sexual love.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the phrase make love is the one example of those coming together. But
yeah. But definitely to me has implications of we are in a committed partnership and we had sex. Like people don't go like, oh yeah, went out listening and made love to this chick, high five, you know, like, but even hookups, like there's a feeling that we don't define as love, that's some kind of affection in it. Yeah, absolutely. So the Plato and Socrates talked about eros helping your soul recall knowledge of beauty and contributes to an understanding of spiritual truth. Can you say that helping your soul? What was that line?
Recall knowledge of beauty.
Wow.
Yeah. And
they were very good. Good for them. They did good.
Yeah. And they also believed that the ideal form of beauty was youthful beauty, which that goes back to the last episode. That was like Davey Wavy's third pro was like, they so cute.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, and we'll get to the younger guys thing in Greek culture here in just a little bit. The third one is philia or philius, which is affection or affectionate regard or friendship, usually between equals, and it's the one that would most accurately describe our relationship. It is.
You philius me?
Yeah, I philios the crap out of you, Kyle. Putting the ass in philias. It's loyalty to friends, family, community. It requires virtue, equality, and familiarity. And philia. They had storge or storgi, which is
they weren't allowed to change their airport code either. Right. Storge. It's offensive.
It means love or affection, especially of parents and children. It is the common or natural empathy like that felt by parents for offspring. It is almost exclusively used in the literature as as describing family relationships. It is also sometimes used when referencing the love for one's country or a favorite sports team.
Wow, those are such different concepts in my mind.
Yeah. I think part of it is like, I don't know for sure, but part of it feels like there is this I love you even when you don't deserve it kind of a feeling.
I've talked about that for Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. You're right. I get that makes more sense as to there could be a connection there. Yeah. There is, I think there's something interesting with like the love of we talk about like blood versus chosen family. Like there's your blood family, and I think we need to remember you don't owe them a relationship, especially if they're like super suck or hate you being gay or all like, you know, we need to make sure people know it's okay to think about yourself. There's something really beautiful about genuine unconditional love that I don't know why I feel this, and it's deep down, and maybe it's just because I popped you out of my V-town, but like, but that's just what happens. Like that's beautiful.
popped you out of my V-Town day.
My birthday's coming up, and popped me out of my V-Town day is coming up for me. But there's also something beautiful about we have no reason to, like, we could have never met. Like, there's nothing we can separate, and it would be like of finding and building that yourself. There's just such beautiful things about each different type that.
Yep. The last one is Xenia. It's not the last one. Sorry, it's. I've got a couple more. I have to switch.
You lied. That's fine.
I have to switch to the gay page for this one. For the ones after this, Xenia is the Greek love of hospitality. It is the love that you show to a stranger, especially in the idea of hosting them. It's hospitality towards foreigners and guests. It was understood as a moral obligation that you had a moral commandment to take care of travelers, strangers, foreigners.
Yeah.
So, and then of course we have talked about this on the show before, but it's been a while, and so we're going to kind of go over it again. But there's also paiderastia, which means boy love, and it was the most common form of same-sex relationships between men in Greece. And in a lot of languages, love the Greek way is a euphemism for butt sex. Like, it was in certain parts of ancient Greece was a relationship between an older man and an adolescent youth. I thought this was interesting. A boy was considered a boy until he was able to grow a full beard. So I'm still a boy, Kyle.
You have patches of manhood. Scott, I think that's representative of your life. You've shown patches where I'm like, yeah, Mike's an adult. Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
The older man was called the Orestes, and he was to educate, protect, love, and provide a role model for his Eromenos, who is the boy who was rewarding him in beauty, youth, and promise.
Wow, there's a lot of overlap in that in the younger guys episode that we talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although in this, the 12 was the age that was like the sweet spot. Like
there's the difference.
Yes. To love
was the sweet spot.
Yeah. I mean, because it was like masculinization is when that time was over. Like it's not okay for like two full-grown dudes to bang each other, or it was a different set of rules.
Yeah,
but
gay was like Greek. It's not gay was totally accepted. It's that this kind of relationship was accepted,
right.
Not like two old dudes fucking.
Right.
And by the way, when you're old in that age, you're like 32 and you're like, I'm lonely. This is my last day in life. I want to see the Beyonce in the sky.
Yeah,
Who's Beyonce? I don't know. Maybe I'll meet her. That's heaven for me.
God help us. But to love a boy below the age of 12 was considered inappropriate.
Glad that's stuck around. That's still true. True.
And traditionally, the relationship could continue until the boy had enough body hair or facial hair to be considered a man. This is super interesting and fucked up and worth like unpacking maybe in some other kind of episode. But pederasty was not considered to be a homosexual act. The quote-unquote man would be taking on a dominant role, and his disciple would be taking on a passive one. And when intercourse occurred between two people of the same gender, it still was not entirely regarded as a homosexual one, given that one partner would have to take on a passive role, and there would therefore no longer be considered a man in terms of the sex. So the bottom, because they bottom, they're a girl, and therefore it's not gay.
Yeah.
And there's so much fucked up going on.
Yeah.
There. So much so that apparently in ancient Spartan weddings in Sparta, the bride had her hair cut short and was dressed as a man. And it has been suggested by scholar George Devereaux that this was to make the husband's transition from homosexual to heterosexual relationships easier.
Wow, we've been catering to straight dudes for so long.
Yep.
Everything is to make their lives a little easier.
Yep.
No, that thing you just said is insane. And I need to acknowledge that instead of making my jokes. I have never heard that before, and that is insane.
Yeah, how do we make him be into ladies? I know, let's dress her up like a boy for a day.
She unfortunately has breasts, but her hair could look like a little boy.
Yeah.
God, is that where bowl cuts started?
Yes, probably. Almost certainly.
Almost certainly.
But that's a little bit of the history of love and Greek words for love, which again, just to come back to like my whole premise here is just that love is an overloaded term. There's all kinds of different kinds of love. Like I love you, but like in a platonic way.
Mike,
and I love
stop.
I love my parents. I love my brothers, but like I that's different than the love for your husband or the love for a pet, or like there's the word love gets used a lot, but it's a bunch of different shit.
Can we agree that the love for your pet is like the overlasting, overarching, most genuine, important, sincere? There's something so innocent and honest about my love for my dog that no man can. I love you too, Mike. I need to be better I want to be better at saying that to my friends. And
it's
people.
fine.
you know I'm emotionally stunted enough to not expect it. No, I do. That is very important to me. I as a closed off kind of shell of a human trying to open up, trying to expressing love to people is very difficult. And anyway, I love you, Mike. Okay. I'm going to tell you about a study.
Yeah. Okay.
That I could.
A study about love.
A love study. Okay. It was very interesting just like looking up what kind of studies when you have put in like gay and love in.
Oh, put what in where's where?
Fair. What kind of things do you get back? There are some things that talk about, when they talk about love, like love in the time of AIDS, like AIDS came up and love as when they talk about gay love, they talk about it's sex. They're talking about sex, which reminds me like researching, understanding AIDS is super important. The AIDS crisis, but so many of our studies like that, and I forget. There was once where I from certain times, like that's all research did. That's all we studied. So that was the only thing about gay people. And what I thought I didn't think about is the when you see love in a study before the 90s, even probably after, it's about sex. They're talking about sex.
Yeah.
And of course we as gay men don't. That's what straight people think of us. That's what we think of ourselves as those there aren't studies about gay love, like romantic love.
Sure. Yeah.
And the fact that love means sex. And anyway, I thought that was super interesting. So what I'm going to talk about is a study called The Power of Love, the role of emotional. What?
That's a song, right?
I don't know.
It is a song. I still can't sing. I'm still hungover.
But do it anyway.
It's the power of love. Who is that? Robert Palmer, something like that?
You can do that. Research that while I read this long title, The Role of Emotional Attributions and Standards in Heterosexuals' Attitudes Towards Lesbian and Gay Couples, published in the Social Forces magazine journal in 2015 by Long Doan, Lisa R. Miller, and Annalise Lower.
Long Dong?
Boy, I knew that wouldn't slide by without a comment. Yes, Long Doan. It seemed to be the principal researcher. At least he was the one that did kind of all the interviews that I read about this study. But did you figure out who it was by?
Huey Lewis. And the news. Don't play the theme song. News. Great.
I did. That's funny. That's funny. That's just good, clean fun. Okay. Initially, it was gross. I'm gonna read a study about heterosexuals' view of gay couples.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting and worth discussing. So what they did, I could not access the main article, so I just all the articles about this just said the same quotes, so that made it very easy. But I didn't get into. So what I know is what kind of they said and the article said. They provided participants with a love story that featured a couple. They did not state but implied the gender, the orientation of the couple by changing the names of them to imply some were heterosexual and others were homosexual. Hey, asterisk, big, this isn't the point, but there's some interesting trans issues, assumptions about your name means this thing and your gender. There's some interesting things about bi erasure. There's a lot interesting even in that approach to a study, but understanding that as a limitation of, and probably a realistic one. If you say like Michael and John loved each other, like most just the average person will think they are a gay couple.
Yeah.
That
or a Star Trek character.
I was thinking, honestly, I thought Star Trek is, if what I've learned from Star Trek, Cameron fucking Diaz, like the trend to have like male name or not male, different gendered names is like a very interesting, fun thing, and it made sense that Michael was the name of it. Anyway, we're gonna have a Star Trek episode.
Yeah, it's
Can
coming
I
up.
Tease that. Yeah, I'm excited about that one. We're gonna have someone on to talk to you about it, so I can just chillax. This research study. The participants then ranked. This is a kind of easy summary. Like ranked the amount of love the partners had for one another based on what they heard from the story.
Oh, this is interesting.
Right?
Okay. So it's a scenario, names and implied genders. How in love are they? Rate them. Okay, go.
And no surprise, opposite gender couples were most perceived as most in love, followed by female perceived same-sex female couples, and then same-sex male couples. That was the order that they ranked people as in love.
Quick aside, it's pretty fucking interesting when so many sitcoms are based on the idea of how much straight people hate each other.
Okay, I knew somewhere that, yes, 100%, absolutely fucking ball and chains, or like, she keeps talking and like, we haven't had sex in 15 years and we've only been married 3 years. Like
that nag won't let me drink beer and watch the game.
Yeah, I gotta go ask permission to go like say hi to someone. Yes, like they're... It is insane that straight people then believe that straight people are most in love. Yeah. Straight people, you should know that you're not. You should know more than anyone that you're a gay couple is like, man, they had to work 10 times harder to be in love than you. And so that love is more real.
I'm sort of reminded when my brother told me that he wished that he could be gay because he thinks it sounds awesome to be in love with somebody you can play video games with.
Didn't he say like wear
Yeah,
be in your underwear and play video games? Yeah. It is, and he's right. It's very
right.
good. It's a lot of fun.
I feel so sorry for straight people.
Yeah, you can like be playing a game and like you start blowing, then like you keep playing, and you're like, it's just so much fun. Also, I think it's interesting that it did like note that female couples, like gay men, were the least likely to be perceived as in love, and I think there is something to my personal belief. I'm sure I said it before. Like, I think it is harder for lesbian or female couples to be taken seriously because everyone's like, oh yeah, women they kiss. Like everything's like. But what does a man think about this? Like, oh yeah, they kiss, but that's fine. They're curious or whatever. So like, is more difficult. It's both more accepted. People are like fine with lesbians because they think it's kind of hot, but it's more difficult to convince them that they are genuinely like, no, I'm defo lesbian or like we're defo together. But like, we can see women. We think women are more capable of love or something than two men. Like, I think people see that as difficult to believe.
Is that? I mean, that's just the gendered. Like, men are dead inside.
Yep, they only want to fuck
and can only think with their dick.
Yeah. Yep. And just because it's true for me. And this is the most terrifying part. Participants noted that couples who were believed to be most in love deserved more rights than others. So they were asked about various kinds of.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what's your face? Your face, no, please.
My face was like, this is some horse shit. Here it comes. So
they looked at it from a few different ways, and this is where I like wish I had the like article to get into some of or whatever. But there was like, the formal rights that we grant through like our laws and shit, like partnerships and whatever. There's marriage, which a little bit different than the legal rights that we grant, and there's informal. I think they call them informal privileges, which are things like just holding hands. Like there are certain different things, and I think if I remember correctly, it was like they were more likely to believe they deserved legal, like some of those legal rights versus other kind of rights, this even more so, I think, is where the like, but straight people fucking hate each other in 90s sitcoms of like, do you really believe that the amount of love people have for each other is like then no straight person actually deserves to be married or have legal rights. Again, based on these 90s sitcoms things, are like, you two fucking hate each other. Like you do not deserve any rights for being in your dumb, stupid marriage that you're stuck in, where you dislike each other actively.
Yeah.
So that, I think my assumption is that people can most relate to people that are like themselves, and when straight people see other straight people, they can imagine them being in love. And if you see someone, again, pick any kind of, it's different than me, person of color, a disability, being queer, like pick anything, and it's harder to relate to that person and harder to imagine that person being in love. So I think there's something understandable and natural about it. And also people's belief that, like, I don't care why you get married or why you legally get rights. Like you can, I just don't like, it's so interesting that people believe that how much love you feel should determine how many rights you get. Like, that's insane.
Yeah. Or like that there's a measurable quantity there. Like there's a lovometer that could, like, it's like the sorting hat in Harry Potter that just says like how much love you got and what do you decide?
Hugglepuffs love the most, right? Wait, is that a house or a Pokemon?
Absolutely is now.
Okay. I will later talk about more things about that are not about straight people, that are about queer people, but that's this thing.
Is Jigglypuff the favorite Pokemon of Chubby Chasers?
My dad's favorite Pokemon is Snorlax. I respect that.
Great. Oh, man. Okay. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you. You probably already know them. The 5 love languages. Do you know what the 5 love languages are?
Yes. There's anal. There's French. There's not responding to text. No, I don't want.
There's anal. There's French. There's French anal.
There's alpha dudes with backwards hats.
So the 5 love languages is a 1992 book by Gary Chapman, and talks about the way that romantic partners express and experience love. And those love languages are words of affirmation, quality time, giving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch.
Service my dick.
Right. Well, I mean, there's kind of a dom sub potential there.
Love language.
Yeah. But yeah, so words of affirmation, giving compliments, using your word mouth with your face words.
That's demonstrated very effectively by you. Yeah.
I'm a professional, Kyle. Quality time, so like spending time together, but that is focused on each other.
God, in my last relationship, when I just wanted to sit down and talk instead of like, I really want you to put down Instagram right now and just look at, and he could not understand that, like, I wanted him to turn off his phone and place it down and then talk to me. Like that was very difficult for him.
Yeah. And there's a whole generation for whom that's really difficult.
He was about my age, so this is not. It's interesting that that did come up on the younger guys thing, but it was not about that.
Giving gifts, so exchanging
semen,
physical tokens of
blowjobs.
Okay.
Birds that you bring home. What?
Acts of service, doing stuff for each other, like the dishes or making the bed or whatever, and then physical touch, like touching each other. So that then here comes the question. Everybody's into all of those in some context or another, and there is a tendency for some of those to be more important than others. What's your own personal set?
To me, quality time is really important, and not just romantic, but also friendship. Like people enjoy the group things and lots of people, but I almost discount it, or but I didn't actually get to hang out with anyone. Like if I'm with a certain size of group, I'm like, but I didn't actually spend time with them. Like I literally did, but so quality time and actually being able to sit down and talk to people, I think that's a lot of things, like having social anxiety and being an introvert and not opening up to people, like that one-on-one time that makes it more important. So that's important to me. I think I don't know, maybe both, like words of affirmation and gifts, like something that like I thought of you means a lot to me. And words of affirmation are one of those things that like make me very uncomfortable, but like are useful. I like learning to receive those and having someone who cares enough to like affirm and support and remind me that I'm not like a terrible, shitty, despicable person like that, like is a good, like it counters my internal narrative. So that's important to me.
Okay. I would imagine that would make you really uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's also this phenomenon that we tend to project our own preferences for the love languages onto the person that we're with. And part of this whole experience is supposed to say, figure out what your love languages are so that you can communicate to your person, these are the things that are important to me, so that hopefully they will then give those things to you.
Yeah.
But also, just because it might mean a lot to you doesn't mean it means a lot to them. You need to figure out your partner's love languages and prioritize what you do for them based on their preferences, not your own.
Yeah. Well, it's, I mean, but it also goes both ways of if you learn what your partner does that shows you love them. I was just reading this thing on Reddit. It was like, probably straight people, stupid straight people. But like every morning some dude like recorded a voice message to his partner and she was like, this is, I can't hear it or whatever. And then she like asked him about it. He was like, I take the bus so I'm not on the subway so I can voice talk. Like she learned how much he thought through this and how much it meant to him to share that with her, and learning about that made that mean so much more. So even if it's not their love language, it's like a little bit mutual. Like you don't just like, 100% default to what you do. It's also like, hey, here's what I do to show love. And just so you know, when I do these things, these are me showing affection. So
yeah, I get that. You can learn to appreciate the gesture, whether it's what you would default to or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Understanding the intention might bring more value to it that you didn't realize. Like when I sweep up for you, it's because, you know, I've seen that this happens or whatever, and learning the meaning behind that means then you come home and things are swept up and you're like, he just thought about me and cared about me and put time and effort into loving me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting in retrospect, looking at my marriage to Trevor, how we were very mismatched in this area, in this paradigm.
What are yours, and how did that play into you and Trevor?
My number one, giving and receiving,
nice,
is I'm very versed when it comes to
your verse love, Tom. I don't know.
Is physical touch. Like my go-to is to touch somebody to show them my affection. And no, don't you fucking touch me, Kyle.
You're too far.
Keep your hands away from me.
I'm showing affection in the way you...
Great.
Does grabbing your wrist uncomfortably help?
Yeah.
Do you feel it?
That was an okay touch. Show me on the doll where the Kyle touched you. Oh God, that
was touch your heart.
Yeah. Remember we were in the hot tub with Davey Wavy at the sex hotel, and you put your goddamn feet on me.
That was so fun because I was I naked?
Yes.
Or did I just have a jockstrap?
I don't know.
Either way,
your shorts bubbled up to the top of the hot tub like some kind of fucked up stew vegetable.
Okay,
and then you put your feet on me.
That first part didn't happen. The second part, but it was very funny to me. So that's what matters most. And I was just showing you I loved you, Mike. Why your touch? You like touch. You love Mike loves touch. Great. Everyone touch Mike every time you see him.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Touch is very important to you.
Yeah, and I think that for one reason or another, I never really quite picked it all apart. I think that touch was difficult for him. Like I think that he like tolerated it from me, but for the most part did not like to be touched. And so that was an obstacle. But even more importantly, I think because he was wired that way, he was reluctant to engage in touch with me. Like I felt very much and resented the fact that if we were going to be physically touching each other, I had to engage in that, and only in certain ways and in certain contexts, because that's the only way that it would be well received by him. Yeah. Conversely, go ahead.
Oh, I've said this, but it's been a long time. I had one of my first boyfriends. I said, I learned multiple things. At first I was like, oh, like I said, cannot touch my stomach because I feel so uncomfortable about my physical appearance.
This is Jay-Z?
Yep.
This was Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I said, and it was like one of these like multi-level realizations. At first I was like, oh, I get to decide what feels good and bad, and I get to say that. So like there's something, it is like there's something like shitty to the like I feel so uncomfortable with my body that I don't like that makes me very uncomfortable. But there's also something nice about me realizing like, oh, I don't like that, and communicating that to a person. And then he was like, I think tried to respect that, but also communicate to me. But I like doing that, and like I'm sad now that I don't get to do that. Mm-hmm. Like I don't get to touch you there. And so like learning that he actually loved my body the way it was back then. That's not part of the name. This is all part of the same issue. But like anyway, like he liked my body the way it is and wanted to touch me. Mm-hmm. Like that, like I realized that, and eventually like accepted that piece. But I understand the touch can be uncomfortable for. I mean, it was for me. It still is for me sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's understandable. I also like. I also think that's sad or tragic, but some of that is me projecting because it's so awesome for me. Like it's so much what I want.
There's definitely something sad about it. Yeah. It's like finding someone that you love unconditionally, no matter what, means letting them, like literally letting them touch any part of your body. It is like that's a part where like sexuality, like that piece is like there's such an intimate part of like you are literally able to touch any part of me. Mm-hmm. Like that's there's something very beautiful there, and to not allow that is a wall that you're putting up that's very metaphorical.
We have a personal space bubble, and like tacitly letting somebody violate that bubble whenever because you love them. It's like there's a thing that's happening there. Yeah. And
I should also like I very much understand like no you like being in a relationship does not mean you get to touch each other whenever you like whenever you want wherever you want. That's not what I'm saying. Yep. So just need to put that like anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Continue.
Conversely, I think that for him, Trevor, acts of service were very high on his list, both in terms of giving and receiving. Like he very much would like do the dishes, clean up the kitchen, do a load of laundry. Like,
would he?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay.
He loved making me breakfast and said so. In fact, this is sad. Ooh, okay. Didn't expect to have a moment about this. He cooked me breakfast the day he left, and that was like part of the thing. Oh, that was hard to say. Oh, good thing therapy's tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, but I don't want to skip over that. Like, what did that mean to you? Was that good or bad, or like what?
I mean, it was super painful at the time, and clearly a little bit now. I think it was almost like an apology. Like it was I still care about you kind of a moment. The only way that he knew how, I think. Yeah. I also underappreciated it. Like in retrospect, not the breakfast on the day he left thing, but like his acts of service, I didn't realize how much he was saying that he cared about me because that's not how I am wired or receive it. Like I would take it for granted. Like the things that he would do would sometimes not even register. And that's got to be pretty fucking terrible for him, right? Like,
it's interesting because my initial like, and I definitely do this too. So this is like not a judgment. This is like on me as well of like doing things for other people is a very indirect way. Like there's something direct about touch or words of affirmation that an act of service is not. It's a little bit indirect, or it can be, I guess, or more likely to be, or something of like I'm doing this thing that's not about saying I love you, that says I love you. Like there's something indirect about that can make it easier for people like me who are like closed off or more difficult to say that too. So maybe makes sense. It's less if you're used to maybe having a mom who says literally everything she's thinking, so you never even have to think about it. And hypothetically, an act of service is not an act of service. It's like you just did this thing, like not realizing like, oh, I'm going to indirectly express this to you. Like your mom, I don't think has an indirect bone in her body. Like if she could, like she would not be as interesting or as fun. Like, but so yeah, that makes sense. That's like you weren't wired to receive indirect service as love in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. absolutely. But I also think that had we been able to, like, I don't know, recognize that and talk about it and use our words better, that maybe we could have reached a at least more functional ground together. It's interesting how it works.
Yeah.
I don't want to move on too quickly, like off of personal stuff. We can still talk about that.
You haven't like seen a tear quite yet, and I feel like I could really jab the knife in and get it.
It was pretty close. It was pretty close, but you failed.
Damn it!
I also
okay. Well, I will say this, and not like I do think that the idea that what you're showing is a representation of you two cared about each other,
yeah, for sure,
and loved each other, whatever definition you want to use for that love in whatever way, and breaking up maybe because it's the best thing for both of you, or one of you can't do that right now, or whatever. And I think making breakfast for you, I think that's a great way to represent that, like, I care about you, and this is not a I hate you, you fucked up, you suck, or whatever. It's a we care and we are not together right now. And that's something I don't think we necessarily explore the nuances of as much, even with straight people, much less like the complexities of gay relationships. So I think that's an interesting moment to.
Yeah. Well, in the mourning process, right? Like a couple of the stages are anger and bargaining, and I think it's a little combination of both of those things. You go through this phase of like, well, he must have never fucking loved me at all.
Yeah.
It was all fake. It was all bullshit. How did I get so? Why was I so stupid? And but that's not true.
Yeah.
Like we clearly cared about each other, and that so much of that relationship was absolutely real and true and beautiful, and it just wasn't enough, I guess, and that's okay.
Or it could have been enough and at the wrong time, or enough and you didn't have the language to communicate these love languages with each other. So like the point of through all of that, you learned now to do that, and that can be something you bring into, and like there's I think something we see in mostly like in media, but also like with straight people, is we broke up. Man, what a bitch. She was always crazy, like that kind of shit. And I think a lot of people wanted to do that to my exes, or even people I dated, where they thought the other person was in the wrong. And I don't think any of my exes are bad people. Yeah, we loved each other. We were together for a certain amount of time, and that was real, and they're not a horrible person. And even if they fucked up, or no matter what, like, to all of a sudden turn 180 and be like, go from love to you were a shitty, terrible person is like, wow, like, then I don't know, that's just not real, or like, that's not.
It sort of makes it easier to let them go.
Yeah.
But that's also not supposed to be easy, or making it easy is worse. Like, it'll fuck you up long term. It's
a defense mechanism to try to, for sure.
Also, I had my concerns about your exes, but I don't think any of them were bad people at all.
I hear the like, are they right for me? Are they, like all that shit? But it's like the reason we broke up, many times it's because they did something shitty, or there was a shitty thing that happened. But I don't think that makes them a bad person. I don't think it means that I should be with them. And I think that's my kind of view of most people, except Donald Trump, is like, there's something good in you. There's some no matter what you do, you can be horrible. And I think there's good in almost everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's way down deep in there.
Boy, howdy. Sometimes you got to probe.
Yeah.
You said acts of service is, I think we've gotten through one of your love language. Oh, touch, acts of service were what Trevor did.
Yeah.
What are your other
gifts? Am I hard to give gifts to?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Do I give you? I don't think I give people gifts anymore. Yeah. Sometimes I don't know.
I mean, we have Secret Santa. That's like an opportunity or whatever. I don't. Well, okay. First, I'm the type of person that, like, some of it is very much privilege, and I recognize that. And like the things that I want in my life, I purchase and have. So I think that it's like difficult maybe to anyway.
I think I'm good at gift giving. I think the last thing I gave you was the daddy t-shirt.
Yeah. Changed my life, Kyle.
I gave you that daddy t-shirt and so many boys to follow you.
So many.
Is that in your profile now? In your Coming soon at Makeover
Yep.
episode to hear Mike's updates, but
Yep.
that's not this episode.
Trevor was extraordinarily good at giving gifts, and I always felt like I was just not as good at it. So it was another sort of mismatch. Like to him, here's a thing that I got for you, or whatever, was one way that he showed me affection, and it just didn't register, I think, the way that he wanted it to. And then I think he also wanted that from me more than I did. Yeah. What's the one that we haven't? Oh, quality time. We were real good at that. We spent a lot of time together, and it was always pretty great.
Was it always quality? I felt like there was a point where you thought maybe you were spending too much, like you needed other things, or I don't know, quality there. That seems like
You're right.
could mean a million things, but is not always just time.
You're right. And I think that is any relationship of sufficient length is going to end up, the quality of quality time gets dialed down just because of complacency and comfort and rut syndrome. And so, yeah.
God, after my first relationship, Jay-Z, it was like, we spent so much time together, and I was like, afterwards, I remember that was part of like hanging out with you and Trevor. After that was like, oh God, I didn't keep up with any of my friendships. I don't I just realizing like that was putting 100% of my time and effort or mental, or becoming complacent with not just our relationship or with life, of like, oh, well, I have someone I can hang out. Being an introvert, like I don't need to seek out too many interactions. But when you're single, you if I don't hang out with someone for 2 weeks and just work, like I'm going to feel it. Whereas in a relationship, I might not feel that same, drive to make sure I maintain friendships. And I think I didn't realize that the first time around, and kind of let that be my social interaction.
I'm sure it felt like that. And and it's been a long time ago now, but when I think back to that time, like the four of us hung out on occasion, and
but rare. I feel like we hung out like a few times, and not that much, but I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Our relationship survived it, so like great.
That's true. I'm perfect.
We outlasted them all.
Yes. Suck it, please.
Yeah.
No, please suck it.
Actually, yeah.
What?
We knew each other before I ever met Trevor. Mm-hmm. And you're still here.
Ha! I win.
You win. Okay. We'll close this section on the 5 love languages by hopefully not too quickly, because I do want to talk about it. But that dude that wrote that book is a hardcore Christian homophobe. And so we just we can have the conversation about is it okay to use his work on a gay podcast for the last 15-20 minutes like we have, or can you separate the work from the person or whatever. But yeah, his name is Gary Chapman, and the book came out in 1992, but since then so his website has a Q&A section, and this person says, question, my son has recently told us that he is gay. I'm having a very hard time dealing with it. How can I help him with this and still show love? Oh, boy. His answer, disappointment is a common emotion when a parent hears one of their children indicate that he or she is gay.
I agree. I think, yes.
Men and women are made for each other. Oh, it is God's design. Anything other than that is outside of that primary design of God. Now, I'm not going to try to explain all the ins and outs of homosexuality, but what I will say is
I would love to hear him I would love to hear him try, honestly. Okay.
But what I will say is this. We love our children no matter what. Express your disappointment and or your lack of understanding, but make it clear that you love them and that you will continue to love them no matter what. I would also encourage you to ask your child to do some serious reading and or talk to a counselor to try to understand him or herself better while continuing to affirm your love.
God, half of that is good advice.
Except to go get them counseling, which is
they probably should get counseling for a reason different than you think.
Yeah, right.
But that would be helpful to have a counselor to help you through that shit.
That's true. I wonder, we should start a conversion therapy office practice just to fake people out and let us talk to their gay kids and like not convert them.
No, we would use all the same language and say we are going to convert them into someone that God loves and someone that can be their whole self. And what we mean is we are converting them into someone who loves themselves and isn't shitty, but they don't like. You can say a lot of the same things and it sounds like you're going to make them straight again, and they just don't realize if you say certain things like, "Hey, you should get a counselor and do a lot of reading." That's a very good advice.
I'm pro reading, Kyle.
I'm pro reading, pro counselors. Like a lot of that could be very helpful to someone coming out.
Yeah, it's true.
Separating like the work and like I think clearly that what he came up with, this paradigm, is interesting enough that it resulted in a conversation and exploration of our relationships, which is useful. Also, now we know not to go to his website, buy his book, like do anything that like financially supports him.
Yeah. There's a site called scarymommy.com, and it was actually, I didn't go directly to his website. There's an article on that site that did this analysis. It was written by Kristen May last year. It was March of 2021. And she says that her recommendation is, instead of supporting Gary Chapman and his website and his book, that people follow the teachings of Doctors John and Julie Gottman. Quote, the Gottmans use similar concepts of simply paying attention to the the kinds of gestures that are most meaningful to your partner and demonstrating your love accordingly. However, they note that a person's primary love language likely is not fixed, is often context specific. Sometimes words of affirmation are most important, and sometimes a thoughtful gift is more appreciated than anything else. They also point out that some of Chapman's singular languages, like quality time, are critical ingredients in every relationship. But she recommends Doctors John and Julie Gottman as having similar teachings, similar thoughts, similar health, but also they are allies and are not Christian homophobe dickbags.
I signed Jay-Z and us, Jay-Z and me, up for a Gottman Institute seminar thing.
Yeah, how was it?
We broke up before that.
Oh.
And so when I called to cancel, they said, are you sure? Sometimes people get back together. And I had to think about it and be like, no, he called a dude to like come over and like he sexted other people and did all this. Like, no, thanks. You can definitely cancel that. I didn't go because we didn't make it there.
Oh, well. Was that Taylor Swift song around yet?
What? We didn't make it to the Gottman Institute because you didn't love me enough?
Right.
I love that song. Taylor's version.
So catchy.
Wait, what?
We are never, ever getting back together.
We just said the same titles, I think.
What do you got, Kyle?
Okay, so my last thing I talked about how straight people see us determines how many rights we have, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Being the majority. Actually, that's kind of true. Now I'm going to talk about queer love and what straight people need to learn from us.
Yeah. Sit down and learn some shit, straight people.
Yeah, sit on a dick and learn from us. Wait. Hot straight dudes?
Yeah.
No. Oh, that's not it.
And she's going to watch.
She's going to watch or maybe leave and go get a snack because she's unimportant to this. No. Okay, we got off track already. Okay. I just wrote down things that I think that queer love can and should help other people learn from us.
Great.
And I think there's like part of the last study is realizing that we model a lot of our norms after what straight people think we should be or what is acceptable. And I didn't even read this. Like there's the lead researcher was like, being in love in the way that straight people think you should be, like there's value to that. And I think he was just trying to bring like from this study I learned that, but that's a shitty thing to say. And might be true that if we love each other in a way that makes straight people comfortable and they think we're in love, right, they will give us more rights.
Yeah.
So like that's probably unfortunately true. And also very much like, boy, you need, there's so much that ties into gay history of like assimilating to straight culture and being acceptable and being okay. And, it's like,
right,
why don't we turn over to hey, straight people, here's what you need to fucking do to learn what real love is, because it's not what you think it is. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do. I wrote down some, but very much open to you adding or disagreeing or whatever you want to do.
Okay. Great.
do what you normally do as a host of this podcast, I guess is what I'm saying.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Miley Cyrus. She's queer. You'll find him when you're not looking, I think is a straight love tip that people give that I fucking hate.
Okay.
I think that what we learn being gay is that there's so many steps you have to take to accept yourself and even come out, much less than find the small percentage of people who are also either gay or bi or open to being in love with another dude. That, like, I think we know that, like, it's not just going to happen. There's a lot of work you got to do both on yourself and to try to date.
Yeah.
That we just don't have that luxury of like, oh, we'll just happen to meet this other straight person that also is single. Like, we don't have that luxury to just wait and see if it happens.
As much as I've been bitching about how much I hate dating and hate first dates, you're making me realize that there's a way to reframe that just like sitting down and having a date with somebody is a fucking miracle. Like, I have a lot to be proud of and thankful for that, like, I even got to there. So yeah, I wish it would happen more often and that it was easier, but like a first date is magic in a way for gay people.
Yeah.
That you made it through all of those hurdles to arrive at an actual physical life human being that's available and eligible sitting across the table from you. That's interesting.
And one of those things, unfortunately, is you live in a country where you're allowed to sit down in a public place together and be very obviously on a date. Like, even that's not a given when we're lucky enough to be in a place where, like, that's kind of, that's legally acceptable. And
at least on the coasts.
You're not going to,
For now.
For now. Something else that I wrote later that I think is relevant is, like, I think it's a numbers game. I think that too many people think it's magic and you'll find it. And, like, even if you go on dates, it's like, oh, but like, wait for this beautiful moment. And I'm like, you go on those dates, you go on bunches of dates, and a small percent you'll want to go on a second, and a smaller percent you'll want to, like, I think it's so stupid the way we view it as like, you'll feel it and it'll be there and you'll find your one, like, and all that. I think, like,
Disney rom-com horseshit.
Yes, exactly. And so, yes, this is also commending you on going on that first date. You're going to have to go on a bunch of them. And it's like, the more you go on, the more you're meeting people, the more you're learning what signs tell you if, like, what things are important to figure out on that first date, and what signs tell you that you'll be interested, and, like, and commending yourself on going on a failed, quote unquote, failed first date is, like, it is very, like, good for you for doing that and getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's cool.
Something I said in that whole horseshit is one true love. Like, I think, what? Go ahead.
Utter horse shit. One true love is utter horse shit.
What? Okay, why? Because I think there are a couple different reasons that queer people can teach everyone that that's dumb. But
because if that were true and it were the goal, the human race would end. There are 7 billion people on this planet. I guarantee that there is not just one person.
Yeah.
Like, you don't understand math.
Yeah. It's so, if that were true, like, we'd really need to set up this connected network to help people. Like, we got to get way more, like, global than we are in love.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't believe in soulmates, and that's, like, an important kind of, like, that's a very important, and maybe the part of this of, like, I think you can love someone just to try to, like, you could love someone at a 9.3 and a 9.7, and both of those, like, who knows, maybe one person would have been a little bit more right for you. Like, there's not a right person, or, like, if you're in love with a person, like, that's great. Like, like, to try to figure out, like, but is this the perfect love, or the right love, or my love, or that? Like,
I think of it all as a big Venn diagram with a fuckload of circles, but, like, where they all come together is always more than one person. Like, there's absolutely no way that whatever your constellation of things that makes a Venn diagram of potential candidates for you to be with, there's more than one person in that overlap.
I think about it, and I think these can be combined of, like, if we just put it on a scale of 1 to 10, your love for someone falling on that scale, and maybe there's a certain 8 and above is something like this is worthy of a relationship that at least investing months in or whatever. And I imagine those maybe for me it's an 8+ that goes in that overlap, that like these are the people that I think there's potential for us, and those are worth exploring and investing your time and effort in.
Yep, absolutely. And it's a lyric from Rent. I'm looking for baggage that goes with mine. Like you're not going to find the person that is flawless. You just want somebody that's your bullshit complements their bullshit and vice versa or something.
Yeah. God, one of the horrible things about getting older and trying to date is trying to figure out what happened to you that you're this age and dating. I feel like is a game that you kind of implicitly play.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like to think I'm above it, but I'm probably not. Or just trying to I know that there's why am I this age and still dating? I think there's a lot of reasonable explanations that I judge myself for, but I try to okay, I get why I'm this age and not in a relationship, and there are very reasonable explanations for other people too. But I went on a date where a guy actually said I just wonder what's wrong with you that you haven't that you're not in a relationship yet.
I hate why are you single? People think they're being complimentary, I think, but they're implicitly saying, you're too good to be true. Show me where your fucked upness is.
Show me your baggage. What the fuck is wrong? I wanted to be I'm very depressed. That's something at some point I'm going to tell you. It's not right now. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you the answer right now.
Yeah. You're going to make an emoji face when I say this. And I just come right out and I'm look, I have 2 ex-spouses. Oh. They just fucking say it. That's my baggage. I'd say mine is pretty great compared to a lot of other people's.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And I very much understand that, I'm going to say this, and if you decide you don't want to be into me or you don't want to explore that, I just know now. Now I know your loss. Now I don't have to waste my time with you. If that's your kind of deal breaker, then cool. Mm-hmm. The other kind of interpretation, though, of your one true love is multi-amory. I think that open relationships, multi-amory, including polyamory or open relationships, are a million different kind of interpretations. I think so many straight people think of marriage and in turn love as you are with one person and that person for the rest of your life. And there are a bunch of things inherent in this. Again, back to 90s sitcoms of a dude looks at another woman's ass and he gets in trouble and is on the couch, or that the idea that you that one is everything to you and the only person you will ever find attractive. Suddenly you get married and now no one else is attractive. There are just so many fake, weird, dumb things. And I will say expectations of men that, or I don't know, or maybe it's even expectations women. If he looks at some other chick's ass, that means he's cheating on you, or that, so I guess expectations of both genders, but all of this is the kind of punchline is we have to break social norms already, so we get to reimagine and kind of understand what queer love or what love means in our own way. And I think there's something very difficult about that, and also very fulfilling, because you don't have to stick with some of those norms.
Yeah. I used to say this to Trevor all the time. I would rather you window shop, look at the whole world, and then still choose me. I don't want you to choose me because I'm the only option, because the rest have been eliminated by some arbitrary bullshit rule.
Yeah.
Look around and still be into me. I think that's better. But
I love that too. Yeah, there's something. Yeah, I'll sort of down marriage. There's so much crazy and fucked up about the institution of marriage. All of a sudden, we get married, and now that says we're in it forever, and you're the only one. There's something if you look around and continue to pick me all the time, that's great, and it's not one day that you did that.
Yeah.
There's also which makes it weird. I always thought bachelor parties were weird in the way that straight people did them. it's like
our bachelor party was weird. You were there.
but in a different way.
Yeah, go ahead.
In it, like, I feel like the things I've seen in like TV shows is like, oh, you can sleep with a stripper that day because it's the day before you committed. So technically you're like, the point is, oh, while I'm still single, quote, like that's what they say. Like, while I'm still single,
before she ties me down and ruins my life,
yes,
I'm gonna go do some shit.
So now you're allowed, and it's like, wow, is that day really the like, oh, now everything, now I can't fuck other people, and now this is out of bounds for our relationship, and I was single before and now I'm married, and those are the two steps of a like. There's so much like that doesn't make sense about straight people weddings and their customs.
I think straight people think wedding cake is magic. But
okay, well, they have a point there. Not to defend straight people.
that like it chemically changes the insides of the people getting married.
You feed it to them, and that's like it's your fork has your like saliva or something on it that then poisons them for other people.
Yep.
I always like the idea that proposing to someone is a surprise, or like you don't know their answer. Like that
horrible.
Is insane, right?
Yeah, horrible.
But also, I mean, I think a lot of these things I think are changing and far less common among like even straight people. But like that used to be the thing. Like you'd propose and not know her answer.
Yeah,
which is like, God, do you not know if she actually wants to do this? Do you like, are you not sure is this the like, hey, do you want to like totally hang out for like a very, very long time together? Yeah. Is this the first time you're doing this? Like, that's dumb.
It's like Ellen Ludden proposed to Betty White like 3 times before she said yes.
Really?
Yeah, which means Betty White said no. More than once.
And maybe there's something good about like, in those times, like a dude getting rejected and staying with her of like, I don't know, maybe that's a positive masculinity for those times of like, that's not a ultimate affront and he has to whatever.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't just straight up murder her.
Man, part of it is like, so I saw some tweet that was like, a dude talking about like going on a first date, and he was like, I need to go on more first dates. What's the worst that could happen? It doesn't go well, or it's awkward and I leave. And then his female friend replied, the worst that happens to me is I get murdered. Mm-hmm. And he was like, and that's when I realized the difference. That's when it clicked.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is very fair.
Yeah.
What else? The kind of steps in the process of like, you get married, you have kids. Like, I think we've had to reimagine that. We've had to reimagine the gender roles, because we're both dudes. So like, who's going to clean? If the woman cleans, like, boy, our place is going to be super dirty if we stick by that.
Yeah. Like Joseph Peters Matthews and Brandon and like, who's taking care of the kid? Well, we both are.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, instead of she should cook and clean and he should make money, like what I think there's like all of this is like, boy, it's so liberating to be like, what do I like doing? If I love cooking and you love working and making money, boy, who cares what gender it is? Do what you love.
Yeah.
The person kind of honestly going back to some of the different forms of love you described, this person being your everything is like, there are lots of different kinds of love. They don't have to be your best friend. You can have a best friend that is your platonic best friend. You can have your friends that you go out and play tag football with.
Great.
And you love that. And you like, there are lots of different roles different people can play in your lives, and your spouse does not have to be the everything.
Or I would make that a stronger statement. Should not be.
Yeah.
Should not be your everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the like kind of ultimate final rule I have is, if it's consensual and makes you happy, fuck society. I think that's what straight people can learn from us. I keep saying straight as more and more realizing like straight could include trans people, could include a lot of things. Anyway, non-queer people, if it's consensual and makes you happy.
Normies.
Borbors.
Yeah. I like that. Borbors.
Yeah.
Well, great. Did we do it?
Yeah. On the Patreon episode, what do you want to talk about there? I have like so much more to say about love that cannot be contained in this tweet.
Lucky for us, it's our show. We can do what we want.
Oh boy. Okay. Here's my 30-minute reading. No, I don't know.
We can do love part 2, love part 3. We can do whatever we want, Kyle.
That's true.
We're masters of our own domain.
Gayestpodcast.com.
During the Patreon segment, we're going to talk about the love letters written between Oscar Wilde and his baby boy.
Not define baby boy, maybe adult human.
Adult human. Adult human.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's just be very clear about this. Yeah. I'm excited about that. I love the love letters that you brought to Hang, and I
and at least one of them that we talked about was one that I read on Have a Nice Gay, but I figured maybe not everybody heard that, and it's still interesting. So
and boy, I really enjoy these. I think that's all we need to do for now.
Okay, you want to take a break?
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
I love you.
Oh,
I was talking to the listener.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
Are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're going to show you love.
Oh, Robin, show me love.
Oh,
show
God.
me light.
That song, when I was in junior high, me and my straight, who I totally believe, like, very much straight best friend, like, dry humped each other to,
Sure.
I think, because we were just horny boys that didn't know what to do, and like that was a very weird. That song played, and we like literally dry humped each other too.
Nice.
Dry hump our website. I don't know.
Yeah, try help our website. It's gayishpodcast.com.
Our social is at Gayish Podcast. We are on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Join our Gayish Facebook group /groups/Gayish Podcast. It's called Gayish Community, and join our Discord.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, is 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply. And yes, I respond to text messages, and no, I am not a robot.
Someone was like, "Oh, this is not a robot." Like we don't reply to everything. We try our best to do what we. But yes, if someone is replying, it is Mike, Dan, or Kyle. Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our post office box is 19882, Seattle, Washington 98109. Yeah.
We have a tour, a very short Pacific Northwest tour coming up, just to get you some of the dates ahead of time. I say this not knowing any of the dates myself, so looking to Mike with a computer in front of him to say them. Sure. But we are performing at the Tree Fort Festival in Boise, Idaho on...
Idaho?
Is that what it said?
It's another state. It's fine.
It's different. It's like the sub-state of Iowa.
Saturday, March 26th at 4 p.m. at the Tree Fort Music Festival in Boise, Idaho.
The next weekend we are performing in Portland at the Hopcap Brewing bar. Yep. Same folks that hosted us at Yakima Pride, which is very sweet of them. We're going to do some fun, cool things for our 5th anniversary of being a podcast, and that is on...
Sunday, April the 3rd at Hop Capital Brewing in Portland, Oregon.
And then we'll be in Seattle, details TBA, but that is April 10th. And I know that because that is the day after my birthday, so y'all better be there to help me celebrate in Seattle.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And we're sort of testing like our ability to do a tour, so please come. Do we have enough listeners? Will people show up? Is it useful? Do people like it? Do we like it? There's a lot. So if shows, live shows, if you like them, showing up will make a big difference. So yeah, absolutely. Do the 4 R's, everybody. It helps us. Rate, review, subscribe, and recommend.
Yeah.
It legit is good for us.
Recommending, finding your gay friend and being like, "Hey, you don't know much." Say it like that too.
Listen to these people that don't either.
Realize that's okay, because other people have a fucking show about not knowing shit. Do you want to do Gayest and Straightest?
Sure. Do you want me to go first?
Yes.
Great. So the gayest thing about me this week, I've been hanging out with a boy, and that's been fun.
Do you love him?
Oh, God.
It's love.
Oh, Jesus. We watched Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh.
We snuggled up on the couch and watched a rom-com, and I just feel that like there's something gay about that. Like,
faux show.
Yeah.
How'd you like it?
I really enjoyed it.
That was good, right?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I feel like this is maybe a dangerous sentence. I don't know. All of the Asian people in my life expressed to me similar family conflicts, and especially the queer Asian people in my life. And so I was glad to see that sort of played out, and yeah, it was super interesting. And the straightest thing about me this week is while we're cuddled up on the couch watching the movie, he looks over at my bar and he goes, "Is that a giant candy cane full of Fireball shots?" Yes, it is. That is exactly what that is.
You have a candy cane full of Fireball?
Yeah. The ex-roommate's boyfriend gave it to me for Christmas.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have a candy cane full of Fireball shots.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. How about you? What's up?
My Gayest and Straightest are, interestingly, the opposite of what you might think. The Gayest is the TV show that I'm watching, Search Party.
Ooh. Okay, what's it about?
It is about, initially, to try to not ruin too many things, it is, because, yeah, I've heard people talk about this and people love it. It's on HBO. It is about kind of someone who is true crime obsessed and trying to find a missing person.
Ooh, okay.
But there are like very gay characters that are, I get annoyed now with like people that are like too hot that I'm like annoyed. I'm like, ugh. Like there are people that have like realistic bodies, are very terrible people, are like that part of it is very nice to me.
Sure.
Like that. And my straightest is watching the TV shows And Just Like That, which is the Sex and the City reboot, and Golden Palace, the reboot of Golden Girls. It felt very similar of like, when you like...
Are they the same show 20 years apart or 30 years apart or whatever?
Well, it's interesting. I don't... We talked about the characters' ages when we talked about Betty White on that episode. And I think the character... It's so weird. They are like not too far away in ages. And like back in those days, it was like, I'm retired and I'm old, and these are like, I'm learning to love again and date, and like, I'm Sarah Jessica Parker and I'm like fucking hot, like there's that part, and like they have non-binary representation, but it like, so like the straightest thing is because it's very clear, like I don't know any non-binary people that love that representation, like sure. I think in Them to Us it was like, and just like that we got mediocre non-binary representation, right. Like Annie is great, but like what non-binary person is like, hello, I'm non-binary and I love to make jokes about it and let's talk about that and that's who I am.
Yeah.
Like it's
Star Trek Discovery has a non-binary character, and like I'm happy for the representation and I really enjoy it, and they are definitely fucking bonking us over the head with like they full on announce that they're non-binary, and like there's a like correcting their like other people's pronouns, the way that they refer to them. And it's I don't know, I'm simultaneously happy for the moment and the representation, but also like I think by the time we get to the 29th century or whatever, like this is not going to be a thing that we talk about anymore.
I would like to read, I posted on our Facebook group.
You did.
People for, it was very sexy, as Mike's voice implied. I'm just going to read a few because I liked a whole bunch of the responses.
Sure, great, yeah.
Mason Taylor said, Gayest is a first date with a girl from Tinder.
Yay!
Straightest is accidentally scheduling it for Valentine's Day weekend.
Oh, no.
Liz Lemon did that. Yep. AE says, Straightest is I finished a bunch of construction with lumber and power tools to build a window seat / shelf.
Hot.
Gayest is now it's time to sew a seat cushion for it, hem the curtains that'll hang from the mount, and continue decorating.
Oh, my. Okay. I mean,
good for you.
Yeah. I mean, sewing is up there in the gay department.
Oh, I thought
sewing stuff.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Adam Sherman says Straightest is picking up a couch for my ex-wife because she dropped a piece of jewelry back there. Gayest is getting iced coffee for my boyfriend when it's under 30 Fahrenheit outside.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Brennan Sherwood, you got this only for one word that you included in it, and I get you. Gayest telling the nail tech that she grabbed the wrong color gel polish and then having to argue and prove I was right.
Okay.
Isn't that's like a gay scene that would be in a TV show of like you pick the wrong nail polish, right? That's hilarious. Straightest purposefully finding an empty lot in a snowstorm to do donuts in the snow like a straight frat boy.
Yes, I do that with the Jeep all the time.
I thought about you, and then they thought about me and frat boys, and anyway, yeah. So thank you all spending your Gayest and Straightest.
Yeah, thank you as always, y'all. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you to all the loves of my life.
Yeah.
Whether you're a dog or something worse, thank you.
Yeah. Yes. And thank you to, I don't know.
All the boys you've loved before.
To all the boys I've loved before.
Is that a song too?
Yeah.
Oh, is that where they got the title?
It's girls, but it's Willie Nelson.
Thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you for caring about us, and thanks, we care about you. Thanks for my friends. I don't know. Thanks to my family. Thanks to Cloris Leachman. I don't know.
I will say unironically, thank you to both of my ex-spouses. I'm learning to appreciate the fact that we were in love in different ways and that I am all the better for it.
That is a great sentiment that I also echo of. I'm grateful for the people that I have loved, the guys that I've dated, because they have taught me things that I will bring into my next relationships.
Yeah.
Thank you to you, Mike.
Oh, thank you, Kyle. Love you too. Now say the names.
Who else I love? Josh Copeland, Forrest Nail, Patrick Martin, Anonymous, James Barrow, Explosive Lasagna, Christopher Farrell, Jamie Pugh, Kevin Henderson, Tipsy McStumbles, Donald Linsky, Thomas B., Dusty Sands, A.E. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorian, Jerome York, and Cian and Javi. Thank you. We love your money.
Yeah, right. Thank you very, very much. And that's it. This has been Gayish from the Chris Cacciatorian Studios. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, much best to you. Goodbye, Mike.
See you next week.
See ya. Oh, God.
Mommy made me mash my M&Ms.
Mommy made me mash my M&Ms. Did you learn that from me? Did you ever do that?
Yes, I learned that from you. Of all the valuable things I've learned from you, Kyle, most of them are about pop songs.
About